Good evening, everybody. Today, we actually continue the Dhamma talk about turning the wheels of Dhamma, the Dhamma-cakka-ppavattana-sutta. Till last week, we covered actually the explanation that the Buddha explained about the Four Noble Truths. What is the Noble Truth of suffering? What is the Noble Truth of the reason of the suffering, the origin of the suffering? The noble truth of the end of the suffering, nirvana, and the noble truth of the way leading to the end of the suffering. So this is actually what we covered till last week. Okay, we go more details. What is each noble truth? I will put the sutta and then we continue. When we talk about the noble truths, you see, this is the noble truths, okay? We have noble truths of suffering, noble truths of the end of the suffering, the reason of the suffering, the way, and what there is two ways to understand the word Ariya Sacha. Okay, Ariya Sacha. Sacha, it's a speech. Ariya, it's noble. And one way to understand the word noble through it's the true itself, the speech itself, the idea behind it that there is a suffering. This is very high speech or very high understanding. Okay, then the true itself is high, is noble. Another way to look at it is that the truth that the noble people will talk. The noble people, this is the way that they will perceive, they will understand. They will get the things like this, they talk about this. So it means this is the speech of the noble people, which is practicing very high to purify the mind. They will understand it and perceive. So it means the noble truth can come with two ways to understand. One is the truth itself, it's noble. This kind of speech is noble. This kind of idea is very, very high level of concern to be happy, if we want to be happy. Another way is that the people which is high or qualified or very developed, they will understand the things like this, they will talk about this like this. Okay, so this is two ways to understand what is the meaning to the noble truth. Now, I want to continue the sutta. I will ask Shima, please, if you can continue from here. This is the noble truth, this one.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Shall I read it now?
Yes, please.
Yes. This is the noble truth of suffering. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of suffering is to be fully understood. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of suffering has been fully understood. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This is the noble truth of the origin of suffering. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the origin of suffering is to be abandoned. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the origin of suffering has been abandoned. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the cessation of suffering is to be realized. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the cessation of suffering has been realized. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This is the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering is to be developed. Thus, bhikkhus, in regard to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering has been developed. Thus, bhikkhus, in regards to things unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light.
Okay, continue. You see what happened here? Something like the Buddha repeating again and again and again and again the same things. But the same, like Thai people, they say same but different. It's the same, it looks the same, but actually it's not the same. It's very deep things. And I want to start to explain first from this, that the Buddha actually, what he declared here, you see, he said, this is the noble truth of suffering, that's because is regard to unheard before, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. What the Buddha declared here, he used 5 words, 5 similes, 5 and something like words that declaring what happened to him, like a simile, what happened to him in the moment that he actually became enlightened, in the moment that he cut the avijja, the ignorance, okay? That he got into samadhi, that he will be in the moment that he became actually arahant, okay? This is the night that he was sitting in meditation, he was transferred to be enlightened person. It was in very split moment. So the Buddha, he described this experience of enlightened with 3 words, okay? And then he used 3 words, actually all these, not 3, 5 words, okay? He used 5 words. Actually all these 5 words, he mentioned the same things, same experience. It's not different experience. It's the same experience, but in different ways of speech, how he uses it. And why he using 5 different words? Because he talked to 5 different levels of people. The people understanding differently. So the Buddha talk about this to normal people, he talk about this to a high level people. So different people, he used different similes, different explanation, what he actually experienced. This is something like, some of them, they're very touching. Some of them, they are like similes, something like example, okay? And the commentary explaining it, okay? They say, the first word is what you say, vision arising me, okay? What does mean vision arising me? It means jaku. The word in Pali is jaku. And the meaning of the word jaku is to see, okay? The ability to see. And this is something like he say, he used the word jaku udapati. Uda like utaya. Utaya, it's raised up. Yeah, you remember utaya paya? So utaya, it means to raise up. It means utapati, it's raised up on me. Okay, I experience it. It's come on me. So he said jaku udapati. It means the seeing coming on me. And the Buddha give the simile, something like the man which is blind. Okay, I was blind with avijja, with ignorance, with moha. And in the moment that the person taking a medicine, so suddenly he can see. So something like this in the same way, in the moment that the person is getting into the vipassanayana, into the ariya makayana, and he change into like an experience, to get the experience on this, suddenly you can see nature as it is. You can see anicca, dukkha, anatta. Okay, he take the medicine. What is the medicine in this case? It's the Eightfold Path. When the person is using the Eightfold Path and you recover by getting into Ariya Yana, into the Makayana, Ariya Makayana or Arhanta Makayana. So in this moment, something you recover from the sickness. So when you recover from the sickness, suddenly you can see again. So the Buddha used the word vision arises in me, Jakukarani. It means suddenly I could see clear nature it is. But the meaning is not to see really with the eyes, is to understand, talking about understanding. We give the simile of seeing, okay? So the ability to see anicca dukkha and to see the nature as it is. So this as it is, this is one kind of simile. The second words that the Buddha using, he's talking about yana. Yana, we have to see knowledge. They use the word knowledge, Bhikkhu Bodhi translate knowledge, because we have 16 yana, okay? It means insight. If this is yana, it means knowledge or understanding from yourself, from your own intuitive, okay? From your own experience. That's why we say we are practicing the 16 yana. This is from your own experience. Okay? When you are practicing the vipassana, the mindfulness, you look at your nature, then you can see from inside the anicca dukkha anatta, all the way through the Ariya Magga, all the way through till the person became enlightened. So this is something like knowledge which comes from experience. And that's why the Buddha used it as a yana. Also, we are using it as a yana when we talk about the 16 yana. Okay, so this is the second word. Now here I don't use the word simile. I'm using the word because this is actually action wording for this. It's yana by knowledge which come by insights. Okay, so this is the second word that the Buddha used. The third one, the Buddha used panya. Okay, here it's called the Bhikkhu Bodhi translate wisdom. And this is actually translation of the word panya. You say panya utapati. And we have three kinds of panya. We have three kinds of wisdom. Okay? We have the wisdom, it's called Suttamaya panya. This is the wisdom that people gaining by learning, by education. When you are seeing, hearing, smelling, you learning by memorizing. So this is called Suttamaya panya. The second kind of panya is the panya you gain by intelligence, analyzing. Okay? But here, this is called Jintamaya panya. These two kinds of panya, we say, they can help to the suffering of our body, but they cannot overcome the suffering of the mind. Only the third kind, which is the highest kind of panya, which called bhavana. Bhavana is to development of the mind. Bhavanamaya panya, this is the only one which will really overcome the kilesa, clean the mind from the greed and the delusion, from the attachment. And this is actually when the Buddha used here panya utapati, wisdom arises in me. He don't talk about the first two kinds. He don't talk about Suttamaya panya and not Jintamaya panya. He talk about Bhavanamaya panya, but he used the word panya, okay, which is wisdom. And he talk about analytical wisdom or insight, wisdom that comes by self-experience. And this is actually the yana that we talk about. This is the kind of panya, which is the yana. So before we talk about, we give words of knowledge, now we give the wisdom. But when you talk about wisdom, it just same like you say, wisdom is something like car. I come by car. But knowledge, in this case, I come by Lamborghini. But when I say I come by car, Lamborghini, it's kind of car. So knowledge of yana, it's kind of wisdom. It's one of the wisdom. So in this case, when the Buddha used wisdom arises in me, he talks specific about the yana. He talks specific about the analytical wisdom, insight that can by vipassana. Okay, the vipassana yana. And also, this is the yana, which is the knowledge to see anicca, dukkha, anatta, or the wisdom to see anicca, dukkha, anatta, to see the Four Noble Truths. And then we come to the next one. The next one, the Buddha used the word of Vicca Utapati. This is the fourth one already. Vicca Utapati, here Bhikkhu Bodhi translated true knowledge, but actually Vicca, it's penetration. It's like leaking into. It's the same like you make X-ray and the X-ray coming into you. So now we don't go into the object coming and leaking into our understanding, into our mind. Okay, so it's penetrative insight. It means the insight come and go inside my body, okay, inside my mind, or like leaking. So this is mean vicca, it means penetration, go through, okay. In Igbo we say lachdor, yeah, to enter in, yeah. And this is a give simile. For example, when you are standing in the front of the wall, so you don't see anything. The wall in this case is avijja, it's the ignorant, it's the moha, delusion. And suddenly you break the wall, you open a window in the wall. So suddenly the sight, maybe the view, the whatever nature that there is behind the wall, it's coming to your eyes. So it's penetrating to you. It's coming and go through you, okay? So you can see clear the things that just leaking to you. I give the example also about the X-ray. When you make people make X-ray, the X-ray going into your body. So in this case, the information or the knowledge or the insight is just coming inside you and leaking to your wisdom, into your understanding. So this is mean the window in this case, okay? It's something like the Arya Magga, or the Eightfold Path. They open the wall, the window, and suddenly the Arya Magga comes. The understanding of nature comes. So this is the fourth kind of simile that the Buddha gives. It's the penetration knowledge. Okay, something knowledge that's leaking into me. I received the information of understanding, and then my mind changed in this moment. This is all these 5 similes. An example, they describe the Buddha trying to describe to different levels of people what he experienced when he get enlightened. So we come to the 5th one, and in the 5th one, the Buddha say, Aloko utapati. Aloko, it means light. Same like flashlight. When you turn the flashlight or you turn the lamp, so then it's light. But in this case, the Buddha don't talk about the light as a light of the lamp or light of seeing. The Buddha used the word of it means you can use another word for this. It's lighting up or to make a bright or illumination. Okay, suddenly you stay on the darkness. There is dark, you don't see anything. And in certain moment, you turn off the light. In the moment that you turn off the light, suddenly you see the object in the room. Oh, this is a chair, this is a table, this is whatever. So in this moment, something like in the moment that the light is there, immediately the sight coming. So in this moment that the ignorant, the light of the wisdom, of the insight coming to you, immediately you can see the nature as it is. You can see anicca, you can see dukkha, you can see anatta, you can see karma, you can understand the cause and effect and everything. It's come, the nature of things coming to you, and the light in this case, it's the Arya Magga. It's the, for example, Arahanta Magayana, when the people became enlightened, okay? Or the Vipassana, something like in the moment that they experience it, they change and the light coming to them, the light to see what? To see nature things as it is. And the light here is, again, it's just a simile. It's not, even the Buddha will use the word light, aloko, but you don't really mean light, that physical light, okay? This is just a simile. So this is actually 5 wording that they're explaining the same things that happen. They don't tell different point of view. They just speak about the same experience of the Buddha, but the Buddha used different words. Why? Again, to talk to different levels of people. You see, some of them, they are silly. Some of them, they really talk about the words that it's really the words, like Yana or Panya. Huh? So this is something like just to start to explain. Buddha, you see here that Buddha repeating 12 times almost the same things, but still something changing. What is this changing? The Buddha actually, what is this 12 sentence that the Buddha repeating again and again and again? These 12 sentences, they are describing their 4 noble truths. The Buddha said that I got a vision. It means I got enlightened when I really understood these 12 elements. What is this 12 element? Is the aspect, 12 aspects or 12 point of view or 12 directions to look about the 4 noble truths. The Buddha said, I understood the 4 noble truths, but like if you remember again, Kichayana, everything in life, there is a rising, prevailing, and ceasing. Happening, stop. The day starting. Oh, suddenly I see, start the day. Now we are going through the day, and then evening coming, finish, okay? Also on the night, the evening coming, okay, night coming. We stay sometimes, and then the day goes. So everything like this, it's coming, stay sometimes, and ceasing. Rising, happening, stop. Before, happening, and then stopping. So in the case of these 4 noble truths, it's the same things. There is something like the Buddha talking about the understanding of these 4 noble truths in the same way. Okay? And something like we have the 4 of them, and every one of them rising, prevailing, ceasing, rising, prevailing, ceasing, happening, stop, happening, stop, happening, stop. So altogether 12. And this makes the difference between each one of these sentences. Okay? And all of them, the Buddha say, if I didn't understand it, I still was not enlightened. But in the moment that I understood it, the vision come on me, the light come on me, the understanding come on me, in the moment that I really understood it. Okay, so the Buddha said that in the moment that he understood that he get enlightened, he understood the 4 noble truths directly. Yeah? So according to this, I said rising, prevailing, ceasing. The Buddha we use 3 kinds. It's like a knowledge. The knowledge before, the knowledge that we are doing something, and then the ending. And how it's going, there is in Pali, there is a name for this. The first one called Sachayana. What does mean Sachayana? Sachayana is to understand what have to be done, or let's say to understand the noble truth itself. What is this noble truth? What we are talking about? Okay. For example, when we talk about suffering, we understand what is meaning suffering. Okay. When we understand about what is the noble truth of the reason of the suffering, we understand why we are suffering. So the first, it's called Sachayana, is just to understand the idea behind this truth. Okay. This is connect to all these 4 noble truths. The first one is to understand what is this form of this kind of truth. What is the truth that's going here? Okay, well, what is the basic things of this truth? This is called the knowledge of the truth or the speech. So this is called Sachayana. So this is starting early. If we don't understand what is suffering, how can we deal about it? So first to understand there is suffering and what the meaning of suffering. And then you have prevailing. What is the meaning? By the way, this is called pariyati. The Sachayana because normal people, they have to learn. They're coming, they're learning about Pariyattis mean learning. And we have, for example, someone going to the teacher first or reading in the book or listening to Dhammatalk, he understands, this is the idea of suffering. So this is called Sachayana. This is an understanding about what the meaning of suffering is, okay? For example, for suffering, but every noble truth, there is the rising for yourself. The second one is called Kichayana. Kichayana, it means what we have to do with this knowledge. What to do with this knowledge? Okay, I understand suffering. What to do with this knowledge of the suffering? It means, this is the word kicha, it means duty or work or what should be done. Okay? So this Kichayana, it's the knowledge that what we have to work with this knowledge. For example, we understand suffering, what do we have to do with the suffering? So this is the prevailing, during the day, what we are doing. Okay, starting the day, what we are going to do during the day, okay? Or we know, we have to buy in the shop. How we do it, what we have to do it, okay? So this is called Kichayana, and in Pali also we use the word of patipati. This means to practice it, to do with action, to act with action. So we have Pariyati is the learning, Patipati is the practicing. And the last thing is the end. What is the end? We call Kichayana. Kata is the same, like if you remember about the yana, the 16 yana, we have Katrabu yana. It means the reflection, recollection. And the Kichayana, it means what we have done, to understand what we already have done, what already make, okay? This is the meaning of kata, it means built or prepared or what already have been done. So this is the last thing. We have to something reflecting, we achieved this, what we have to do. So these three things that rising, prevailing, and ceasing, these three kind of yana, they exist for each of the noble truths. So that's why we get for each noble truth, three, rising, prevailing, ceasing, rising. And this is what the Buddha explained. That's why he repeated 12 times. He talked, the first one is the Sachayana, second is the Kichayana, and the last is the Kichayana. Okay, about each noble truth. And I will go one by one and try to explain it. So, if we talk about the first one, this is the noble truth of suffering. Das bhikkhu, okay? Yeah. In regard to it, to think unheard before. That because of this, I became enlightened also, we say, okay? So he talked about this is the noble truth of suffering. And what does mean the word this? This, what is the meaning of this? This is, we talk about what is the suffering. Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Dying is suffering. Not to get what you want is suffering. To get what you don't want is suffering. So this is what the word this. It's what we talk about when we talk about what is meaning of suffering, in the noble truth of suffering. The Buddha, we explain what is actually suffering, that everything is in the nature is suffering. Wow, all these five aggregates, they are suffering. And when the Buddha used the word this is the noble word, the word this, it means all the explanation that we explain about what is mean suffering, okay? And then, so the Buddha talk about this is the truth of suffering. It means when we are, the first one, this is the Kicha, this is the Sacha, okay? This is the Sacha, the Buddha says, we have to understand that what is the meaning of suffering, okay? So how the normal meditator starting with this? He starts first with learning. First he reading, and then he listen to the Dhammatalk, he listen to the teacher, and then when the teacher give him explanation about what he have to do, how to practice, he start to practice. When he start to practice, he start to understand the meaning of suffering more and more. That everything to attach is suffering, okay? So, and then when he get enlightened, he fully understand the meaning of suffering. The Buddha himself, he understood this in the moment that he got enlightened. Why? Because the Buddha said, in regard to think unheard before, it means the Buddha said, nobody teach me this. It was not, nobody knew about it. So it means he find it by himself. That's why he calls Samma Sambuddhasa. Okay, self-enlightened one. He's declared that he's Samma Sambuddhasa. But for us, for normal people, we have to practice it, to learn it first, to understand it. Yeah, like I said, this is the Sachayana, the things that people have to learn to understand the meaning of suffering. True, in the very beginning, it's starting with learning. This is what I say, pariyati. And when you start to practice, you start to understand it more deep. You will understand it the most deep when you will get enlightened. Okay, when you get the Vipassana or the Ajarn Dhamma-cakka-ppavattana-sutta. So this is starting before the practice, this kind of wisdom, okay, or understanding. Starting before the practice, continue during the practice, and when you get enlightened, this is the most what you, or the highest that you will understand. Okay, so this is about the Sachayana by itself. But then we continue to the next one. The next one is what we say Kichayana. Kichayana, we say this is what we have to do with the noble truth of suffering. Here we just have to understand the noble truth of suffering, that we talk about this already, that this is the aging is suffering, birth is suffering, and dying is suffering. So if we don't understand the suffering, we don't do anything to overcome it. So this is the first thing. The second thing, what we have to do with the suffering, we have to fully understand the suffering. Okay, fully understand. And this is the what we call Kichayana. So first we have to understand suffering. Now the revealing, the continue, we have to know what to do with this knowledge now. It means we have to understand this knowledge of suffering. We call it parinyaya. Okay. So, like I said, also here, this is also how we get it. In the very beginning, normal people, what they do, they have to learn it from the teacher, how to understand it. So you are listening to Dhammatalk, you are reading, you are, okay, the teacher is telling you how to practice or whatever. So then you are going and cultivating it, you are practicing it, you're training it, the Vipassana, and then you can understand it more and more deep by yourself, okay? You understand what the meaning of suffering. And then when you get enlightened, then you fully understand everything is suffering. Nothing is worthy to be attached, okay? So this is, and then the Buddha say again, thus bhikkhu in regard to things I unearned before. He say, for me, myself, nobody teach me. I understood it in the moment of my enlightenment under the tree. Okay? This is the meaning of thus bhikkhu. Okay? So the rising is first to understand what is suffering. Second, what we have to do with this, we have to understand it. This is what we have to do with the noble truth of the suffering. And then we come to the third one, that this is the noble truth of suffering as being fully understood. It means that the Buddha say, now, after I got enlightened, I really understand it. I told you, rising, prevailing, ceasing, happening, stop. So after this, that you have to understand it, the Buddha say, I understood it. And how you understand it? Only after the person gets really enlightened, really fully understand it. For the normal people, he understand it in the very beginning when the teacher teach him, when he practicing, but fully understanding it and know I really understood it only after he get enlightened. So he can see the nature as it is. And he don't have any doubt. Okay, so this is about the suffering itself. You see, rising, prevailing and ceasing. Okay, now the Buddha continue to the second noble truth. So we say this is the noble truth of the origin of the suffering, the reason that we are suffering. And what is this? The word this. What is referred to the word this? What is the reason that we are suffering? Is the tanha, okay? So we are coming now to the second noble truth about the Sachayana, to understand what is the reason that we are suffering. And the reason of the suffering is three kinds of attachment. Kamatana, bhavatana, and vibhavatana. Attachment to the sense doors, attachment to the to be, okay, to become, and attachment not to be. So this is actually the meaning of the word this in this case. Okay, we can go back to the noble truth of suffering, and then we say the craving. Okay, the need to exist, the delight on the craving to be, sense pleasure, craving to exist, craving to not exist. Okay, not to be. So this is the meaning of the word this in this case. So the noble truth of the suffering, it means the tanha itself. So people, if they don't understand it, they don't try to learn to get rid from it. So in the very beginning, also here, the person is learning it from the teacher. And then if the teacher teaches him how to practice the vipassana, he practices the vipassana, he can understand it more and more inside by himself. When he gets enlightened, he knows by himself what it was the tanha. Now I don't have the tanha. I don't have the attachment. So what we have to do with this origin of the suffering? So here we have to understand. So this is the Sachayana. What we understand, what is really the reason of the suffering? What is the origin of the suffering? Which is the tanha, the attachment. But the Kichayana, it's what we have to do with this. What we have to do with the origin, with the reason of the suffering. We have to abandon it. We have to destroy, we have to cut it. We have to get rid from this, okay? We have to clean it. We have to cut it out, okay? We have to give up. So it means that the rising is to understand why we are suffering. Prevailing in this case is to understand what we have to do with it. We have to cut the tanha. Okay? So this also, again, people they are learning, I have to do it when they are learning from teacher or whatever. But the Buddha said that he himself understood it in the moment that he get enlightened. Okay? Things that unheard before. Okay, regard to things unheard before. It means nobody teach me. I got it in the moment of enlightenment. So this is the prevailing, what we call Kichayana. Okay? What we have to do with this, what the work to do with the reason of the suffering. And then we come to the Kichayana, which is the prevailing. It means, I noticed that I cut my tanha. It means the normal people, when they get enlightened, they know, now I'm free. I don't have any more tanha. After they get the Mahayana, after they get enlightened, the person became arahant. So in this moment, you know, oh, I don't have any more attachment. I don't have any more greed and illusion. So the Buddha, when he was sitting, after he get the Mahayana, he became Buddha, Samasa Buddhasa. You know, I don't have any more attachment. And this is the no any kilesa, no any greed and illusion. So you say, when the person is already enlightened, you reflect, you know, oh, I'm free from this. So this is the thing. I have to understand what is the reason that I'm suffering, what I have to do with this. I have to let go the tanha, or I did it. Arising, and then it's okay. And then we continue to the third noble truth. So the third noble truth is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, end of suffering. And what is the end of suffering? The end of suffering is actually nirvana. Okay? So Sachayana from this is to understand that if we make turning off, blew off of the tanha, if we cut the tanha, if we make nirodha, nirvana, cessations for the tanha, the thirst, the attachment, then we stop the suffering. So this is actually the Sachayana, the understanding of the third noble truth. It means to understand the end of suffering. And understand the end of the suffering, it's actually when we reach nirvana. This is very, very important, because if the person, he don't understand that something like this exists, he will not make any effort to reach it. But in the very beginning, he's learning it from the teacher. The teacher teach him how to do, and then he practicing. So how much he practice more, he can see the letting go. So he can feel it, that is coming more and more. In the moment that he will be enlightened, then you know, oh, no more craving, cessations totally of this. Okay, so like I said, Sachayana is to understand that we have the noble truth of cessation, nirvana. The Kicha is there. What we have to do with this nirvana. The Kichayana, it means what to do with nirvana. If we understand that nirvana exists, this is the Sacha, what we have to do with this? We have to realize nirvana. We have to experience nirvana. Okay? So this is Sachayana. It means experiencing, okay, to realize it. So if we talk, you see that each noble truth, something else to do with this. For example, when we talk about the reason of suffering, which is the tanha, you don't have to experience it. You have to cut it, okay? When we talk about the noble truth of suffering, it's not mean we have to realize it, or we have to understand it. So you see that in different noble truths, we have to take different actions. So that's why it's come to be altogether 12. So what we have to do with nirvana, with the cessation of suffering, we have to experience it. We have to realize it. Okay, nirvana we have to realize, and this is how we are cutting the suffering. So, and this will be when the person will be arahanta or arahant, enlightened. Then he will cut totally. Okay, the students themselves, he study, practicing it, and then when he achieve it, he understands it fully. The Buddha understood it fully when he was 35 years old under the Bodhi tree. And then what is the Kichayana? When the person is getting nirvana, cutting the greed and the delusion, when he experiences the wisdom of the Ariya Magga, then he know, oh, I don't have any more greed and delusion inside me. He realized the freedom of the enlightened moment. Okay, this moment actually he got Arahanta Maka and Arahanta Pala. So he know fully what is Anicca Dukkha Anatta. He free from all the kilesa. So then he realized, I complete the way. And then we come to the fourth noble truth. This is the noble truth of the way how to overcome suffering. And what we have to know if you talk about the Sachayana, what is the way to overcome suffering? It's Eightfold Path. So we have to understand, we have to learn what the meaning of Eightfold Path. We have to know how to practice it, what to do with this, okay? We have to understand the Sila Samadhi Panya. So in the very beginning, we are learning this again from Dhammatalk. What is the Eightfold Path, what right wisdom, right thinking, right speech, okay? We're reading in books, we're listening to Dhammatalk, we listen to the teacher explains us how to practice the Vipassana. And when we practice, we slowly, understanding more the Eightfold Path. When we get into Ajarn, when the person cutting totally breathing the delusion, he know exactly because he already experienced it and he use it. So what we have to do with the Eightfold Path, if we say this is the Sachayana, we have to understand, what is mean? This is the noble truth. Again, what is the meaning of this? It's the Eightfold Path. So what we have to do with the Eightfold Path? The Eightfold Path, we have to practice it. We have to develop it. You see, every noble truth, we have to do something else. Again, I show you. Okay, the Eightfold Path, or the way that lead to the end of suffering, we have to develop. We have to practice. We have to develop sila. We have to develop samadhi, practicing concentration. We have to develop panya. So when we are practicing more and more and more, yeah, it slowly give us the result. At the end, you get enlightened. You know, this way is the only way. This way is it's working. It's doing the work. Okay. And then you will come to what we call Kichayana. Kichayana, it means the reflections or the ending, which has been developed. You see, has been developed. The way lead to the end of suffering that has been developed, already complete. Why? The person in the moment that he became enlightened, he know, I finished my duty. The Buddha give the example that the person is going with the boat, okay? When he's sailing in the boat, he crossing the river to the other side. When he gets to the other side, he don't need to take the boat with him. So in the same way, the boat is compared to the Eightfold Path. When you cross the suffering, then you realize, now I'm free from suffering. Then actually you don't need the Eightfold Path. So at the moment that the person is getting into enlightenment, he know, I complete the Eightfold Path. I use it. Okay? So the Buddha say he used this again, he experienced all these 12 point of view or 12 position, or let's say aspect of the Four Noble Truths in one moment, very split moment. For the normal people, it's starting before they start to practice, during they start to practice, they are practicing, and also when they complete the practice, when they become enlightened. But for the Buddha, it's in split moment he got it, because he didn't have any teacher. He had his own quality from past, okay? If we talk about the Eightfold Path that have to be developed, already Sotapan, when someone gets in Sotapan, this Eightfold Path became his nature. So from here, maximum 7 life, he became enlightened. Okay? But till then, the person have to develop the when the person became Sotapan, it's already come by itself. It will develop by itself. Okay? Till the enlightened moment. Then it will not need anymore to develop. It finishes. So this is actually what, if you remember sometime, the wheels of the Dhamma is divided to 12 lines, okay? So these 12, they are actually the Four Noble Truths with this, every one of them have these 3 aspects or 3 point of view, let's say. Start, I know this, what I have to do with this, oh, I know I complete it. Oh, the second noble truth of the reason of suffering, okay? I have to understand it. What I have to do with this, in this case, I have to clean it, okay? I have to clean the reason of the suffering, the tan'ah. Oh, I already cleaned it. I understand that I cleaned it. And then the noble truth of the nirvana, the end of suffering, I understand it. What I have to do with this, I have to achieve it. I have to realize. Oh, I already achieved nirvana. This is the moment of enlightenment, okay? And then the way to clean the mind, to overcome suffering, what I have to do with this? I have to practice it. I have to develop it. Oh, I already practice it. I develop it. So that's why the Buddha say that now we can continue. Sima, you can continue from here.
Sure, yeah. So long, bhikkhus, as my knowledge and vision of these 4 noble truths as they really are in their 3 phases and 12 aspects was not thoroughly purified in this way, I did not claim to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenment in this world with its devas, Mara, and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, its devas and humans. But when my knowledge and vision of these 4 noble truths as they really are in their 3 phases and 12 aspects was thoroughly purified in this way, then I claimed to have awakened to the unsurpassed perfect enlightenments in this world with its devas, Mara, and Brahma, in this generation with its ascetic and Brahmins, its devas and humans. The knowledge and vision arose in me. Unshakable is the liberation of my mind. This is my last birth. Now there is no more renewed existence.
Okay. This one. This we'll talk about this next. Okay. Anyway, so you see what the Buddha said. The Buddha said that I declare that I am enlightened only after I understood these 12 aspects of the 4 noble truths. Every noble truth, every one of the 4 noble truths have 3 aspects: rising, prevailing, ceasing. And the Buddha said that only when I fully understood these kind of things, in the moment that I get it, only then I can declare that I am enlightened. And then why the Buddha say, you see, with the Mara, with the Deva, with the angels, okay, you see, I declare that I am fully enlightened in the word with these its Mara, Brahma, generation, okay, Brahmin. What does this mean actually? This means that there is so many, you see, human beings. It's devas and human beings. There are so many people, so many angels, so many Maras and Deva. They have the interest about Buddhism, okay? They know many things. And if they will come and ask, the Buddha said, if they would come and ask me before, are you enlightened? How can I tell them that I'm enlightened? I even don't know to answer everything. I can fail. This is not correct to say like this, because they are very clever. So that's why the Buddha said, with all these Brahmin and all these ascetic and whatever, that they know really what is to be enlightened. They maybe didn't experience. but they're very intelligent. So I will not be able to confirm or to talk to them. But in the moment that I realize about these 12 aspects of the Four Noble Truths, then I could declare to them, that to everybody, that I am enlightened. Okay, the Buddha used the word of Samma Sambuddhasa, Samma Sambuddhi. Okay, and what the meaning of Samma Sambuddhi? It's actually 3 words: Sama, Sam, and body. And what is the meaning of Sama? Sama, it means right or perfectly. Okay, it means someone that we fully know everything. Okay, this is being rightly, full understand. We know all dhammas perfectly. Okay, you have all the knowledge. This is means Sama. Sam, it means to know by yourself. It means to realize enlightened by yourself, without any teacher. And body is meant to understand, to get insight, to get enlightened. And why I say this? Because you have Samma Sambuddhasa, it's the Buddha himself. But you have Pacceka Buddha, which is someone that gets enlightened without any teacher, but is somebody. This one you say somebody, because he gets enlightened by himself. Yes, you can sum it by yourself without any teacher. Body is enlightened. Okay, Sama, somebody, it's fully enlightened. It's someone like Buddha himself. Somebody, it's the Pacceka Buddha. It's in silent Buddha. And normal enlightened person is learning from others. So he body. You can say he body. He have knowledge. So you have the fully enlightened, or the Buddha himself that also teaching, is called Sama, somebody. Pacceka Buddha called somebody, because he's not Sama, he don't have the knowledge, he don't know how to teach other people. Okay, for example, he don't have all the wisdom that Buddha has. And the enlightened person is called body. Without Sama, you don't have the quality of Sama, and you don't have the quality of Sam. You cannot get enlightened. You cannot get enlightened by ourselves. We need the teacher. Okay, so that's why the Buddha called to himself Sama, somebody. And then all the time you repeat things that never heard before. It means I didn't have any teacher. Nobody know all this information before. I found it by himself. Okay. Good. So we covered till here, and then next week we will continue. Anyone have questions? Maybe now when you will read all these things again and again and again, you see the difference, you understand the difference. I hope you understood the difference. Huh? You can see the difference between these 12 aspects. Anyone can confirm it? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Anyone have a question? Anyone want to ask something about this or something else?
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
The 3 types of knowledge is not very clear. The first 2 ones. One is by education and one is by memory. And the third one is by insight. But what is the difference between the first 2?
You talk about, okay. We talk about the panya. You ask about panya. We have 3 kinds of panya. The first one called Sutta Maya Panya. Sutta, it means by hearing, memorizing. For example, when you see, I don't know, television, you see about the lion, you read the book, or because they look in the internet, what is this, Wikipedia, I don't know, the learning, okay? The smelling, they know, the hearing, we have 5 sense doors: hearing, seeing, smelling, and tasting. So then we're learning because we are, by memorizing, getting information, okay? So then it's coming to the memory, and then we learn and we know things. This is this, this is that. For example, you go to the school, the teacher will teach you this is metal and this is plastic. And then the second one is called Jinta Mayapanya. It's by intelligence. The person was thinking, moment. If this is plastic and this is metal, if I make connection between them, I can make an armor for myself. And then this is a gas and this is a tube. If I push the gas in there and then people create, they start to build things, for example, air condition, it was not exist. And they never learn about this. Till today, people develop new things by their own intelligence. Okay, atomic bomb or cars or whatever. It was not exist before. Nobody teach this person. But he uses intelligence to develop new things, to produce new things. So with these two kinds of knowledge, if you want to work, you can go to work. You can, okay? You can, you don't have money, you can work, you can get money, you can buy food for yourself. You feel cold, you build for yourself a house, okay? Or like a fan, it's cooling you, or other things, okay? People, they buy, they think, and then they build, or they buy, and then they have a car to drive, okay? But even the king have everything what he wants. But still he have anger, worry, doubt, lazy. And this kind of, to overcome the suffering of the mind is only the third kind of wisdom, which called Bhavana Mayapanya, which is practicing the Vipassana, purifying the mind by the Vipassana. And this is the only way how to overcome suffering of the mind. But the other, first is one coming from learning, the second comes from intelligence, that you start to develop things by yourself. Okay, and the third one is by looking at nature with mindfulness. So you're learning, gaining insight through the Vipassana. You understand?
Yes, thank you so much.
The Buddha used the panya here, but he didn't use the panya for the other two. He used only by Bhavana Mayapanya. So that's why I use the word panya coming from me, or wisdom coming, wisdom coming. Okay. Please.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I have another question. You mentioned the Vipassana Yana. I think I missed the explanation what is meant by this Vipassana Yana.
Vipassana Yana, this is like Utaya Payana, Bandayana, Payana. But if we talk here about this, the Buddha didn't talk about the lower kind of Yana. He talked about the higher kind of Yana, which is Magayana and Palayana. This is the highest. This is the Sotapanna Makayana or the Arahanta Makayana. It means the moment that the person became enlightened. Okay? So this is Yana come on me. It means insight through the Magayana and Palayana. This is the highest knowledge that in this moment the person change. Okay? Change to be Sotapanna, Sakatagami, Anagami, and Arahant. But when the Buddha talk about this, talk about Arahant. Okay, so it's called Arahanta Makayana. And then Pala will follow. Arahanta Makapala. Sorry, Arahanta Pala. Okay, Yana. Yeah. But you recognize it from your practice from the Utaya Payana, Bandayana. It's the same thing inside. Please, any other question? I think now when you will chant this, every week we are chanting it, huh? Many times repeating, but you don't see this, the difference between the wording. What is this, what is this, what is this? Hopefully now when you read it, you understand what the meaning of this, what the Buddha say when he say all these things, okay? So, anyone more question or? Okay, so we pay respect to the Buddha. I can take out the sharing. Next week we will continue. Aham sama sambuto pakava otam pakavantam bhaktivate Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammam Namassami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savakasanto Sangham Namami. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Bye.